Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to English Teaching Assessment course. In this lovely occasion, we are going to discuss another interesting topic. It is about assessing speaking. Here, our discussion will focus on format for speaking test, task for speaking test, and then settings for speaking test. Let's start with format for speaking test first. In the previous video, we have seen how the CEFR helps us to describe language levels based on what people can do with language. To know what level our students are at, we need to listen to them speaking and read their writing. Here, the first language skill that we will look at more closely is speaking. In order to think about how to sample students' spoken language, we need to be clear about what we mean by speaking. Actually, most of us speak every day. It's part of who we are. We speak to our friends, our colleagues at work, even to ourselves. Even we speak, our brain is engaged in a whole range of activities, from finding words to putting them together in a meaningful way. Because we speak to different audiences for different reasons and under different conditions, we can look at speaking as being multidimensional. And obviously, we cannot observe students' language use all the time. So, in any assessment, we need to take a sample of students' language use. We would like these samples to be representative to reflect their real lives. For example, if we want to know about students' ability to speak in everyday situations, we should include such situations in the test, for example, like giving directions, ordering food in restaurants, or another topic. And this gives us a sample of students speaking in a context we are interested in. Since an assessment should try to replicate as closely as possible the real-life use of the language in terms of the brain activity and the social conditions in which the language is used, a test of speaking needs to be as close to the context we are interested in as possible. From the early explanations, we can take a conclusion that there are three important factors affecting the way we speak in different situations. The first is audience. It is about who we are speaking to. For example, teachers speak to his or her students. And the second reason why we are speaking. For example, we discuss about assignment or outside activity. And the third one is about social conditions. It is about the social context we are speaking in. For example, informal two-way conversations while break time. And then let's continue to the formats for speaking tests. There are common formats for speaking tests that include interview, oral presentations, interactive tasks, and then group discussions. Okay, let's discuss one by one. For interview format tests, it has the advantage of being interactive, but it is not like a real conversations. Because why? Because one person usually asks all the questions to another answers, and then the others answers them, Okay, and then the next, it is about the format test of oral presentations. Can be used in business or academic situations, but they are not very interactive. And then for interactive tasks, it happens when two or more students work together that encourage natural students' interactions and genuine communications. However, one student's performance might affect the others. And then the last format is group discussions. This format test can work well with large classes because why? Because it saves time by assessing students together. However, teachers need to be careful not to allow any students to dominate while the others say very little. What about tasks for speaking tests? Commonly, speaking tasks that are used in assessment including describing something, comparing things, telling a story, and giving some personal information. Okay, let's discuss it one by one. What is about describing something? Describing something is, for example, like describing a picture. This gives students something to talk about, and it doesn't require students to read anything. And then the second one, for speaking tasks of comparing things, is similar to describing something, but cannot be more demanding. It encourages students to compare and contrast two different things. For telling a story, this is a very natural speaking activity. Because why? Because stories can be based on the pictures. And alternatively, students can tell their own stories, but some students might find it difficult to think of a story to tell. For the last, speaking task of giving some personal information is also a natural speaking activity and focus on the personal topics that students are familiar with. As well as basic information, it can include talking about personal experiences and opinions. Alright, now we will discuss the settings for speaking tests. Basically, technology has made a variety of different settings possible for speaking tests. And these settings might include live, face-to-face, recorded, and remote via phone or internet. Okay, let's discuss one by one too. For live, it doesn't mean that you require any technology, but it means that the assessment has to be completed in real time. For face-to-face, this might be considered more realistic, but it means that the marker and the students need to be in the same place for the test. And for recorded, this allows lots of the students' speaking performances to be recorded at the same time. And it also means that the markers can listen more than one. And however, it means that markers need time to listen to the recording after the test. For the last, remote via phone or internet, this may feel different from face-to-face conversations because it can make tests easier to access, especially for students in remote locations. So now that we've looked at how to get a realistic samples of students speaking in an assessment, we need to think about how to rate it or how we give it a score. When the examiners is asked to award a score for speaking test performance, it is usually practiced that they use a set of descriptions of what to expect at different levels of the ability, And these sets of descriptions is known as a rating scale. Some rating scales are simple in design and simple to use, and others are more complex. As with most things, the complex ones tend to be best, but are more difficult to create and use. And the improvements in voice recognition technology, when combined with advance in computer power and speed, as well as in our understanding of artificial intelligence, means that we are getting closer to having an interactive conversations with machines which would then rate your performance. Well, we have thought about what makes a good speaking test, including task, format, setting, and scoring. And all of these aspects are important, but any assessment must also be practical. To create a useful test of speaking, we need to think about all these things while at the same time making sure that the language the test tasks generate will reflect what we are planning to assess. One of the biggest practical problems for teachers with large classes is time. We need to listen to each student, but often there is limited time available. And to solve this problem, we could assess students in groups, or we could record them speaking and listen to recordings later. There are positive and negative to all solutions. We just need to be aware of this complexity when designing a test of speaking. I think that's all information that I can share to you, and in the next we will discuss a new topic. It is about assessing writing. It will be interesting, so don't miss the next video. See you and have a good learning. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.